The lawyer said mentally incompetent, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. Then she smiled at the judge. That's when I knew my granddaughter had paid for more than legal advice. I watched my own blood try to bury me alive in a Tampa courtroom with paperwork and pity. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that when they turned, you questioned your own memory? Have you watched someone you raised look you in the eye and lie? This isn't about old age. It's about what happens when greed wears the mask of concern. Stay with me. You'll see how a librarian's habits became a weapon they never saw coming. The courtroom air conditioning hummed the same note for 90 minutes straight. I counted. I also counted ceiling tiles, 48, and the number of times Sophia's attorney paused for effect during her opening statement. 17 times. Each pause calculated, rehearsed, designed to let words like deteriorating and vulnerable settle into Judge Eleanor Thompson's mind. Sophia sat 3 rows ahead of me in a navy suit, the same shade of blue I'd bought her for college interviews 7 years ago. She wore her concerned granddaughter expression well, eyebrows slightly drawn, lips pressed together, hands folded in her lap. Every few minutes, she'd sigh just loud enough for the court reporter to glance up. Her attorney, Ms. Rosalind Hayes, wore perfume that cost more than a standard guardianship case should afford. I noticed. 32 years as a school librarian taught me to notice details other people miss. The way Ms. Hayes stacked her manila folders in perfect alignment, the matching fonts on every witness statement. The medical report sitting on top, dated just 2 weeks ago from a neurologist I'd seen for exactly 4 minutes. Mrs. Sinclair exhibits significant cognitive decline, Ms. Hayes said, her voice smooth as rehearsed testimony. She can no longer recognize family members. She wanders. She's given her debit card to strangers. Just last month, she forgot her own address when speaking to a pharmacist. I sat still. My hands stayed folded in my lap, resting on the manila folder I'd brought. The leather chair beneath me squeaked when the man beside me shifted his weight. Pages shuffled. Someone in the gallery coughed twice. Ms. Hayes presented a grocery store incident from 6 months ago. I'd asked a clerk where the baking aisle moved to after a store renovation. Somehow that became disorientation and confusion requiring assistance to locate basic items. Judge Eleanor Thompson listened, her face neutral, taking notes in careful script. Sophia's manicured nails, fresh polish, coral shade, probably $40 at that salon she started frequenting after Ethan came into her life, tapped the table once, twice. A nervous habit she'd had since childhood, back when she'd sit at my kitchen table working through algebra homework. The medical report got passed to the judge. Dr. Julian Mercer's signature at the bottom, declaring me significantly impaired after a 4-minute appointment, where I'd counted backward from 100 by 7s without a single mistake. Miss growled. Hayes called it a professional medical assessment documenting substantial cognitive deficits requiring immediate protective intervention. I called it a lie, but I didn't say that, not yet. The attorney moved to financial concerns next. Mrs. Sinclair's accounts show erratic activity, unexplained withdrawals. She's at risk of financial exploitation by scammers who prey on confused elderly individuals. The $8,000 Sophia took from an ATM in Clearwater at 2:47 in the morning while I slept, that unexplained withdrawal, didn't get mentioned as her doing. Ethan Shaw sat in the gallery, 3 rows back, looking appropriately concerned for his fiancée's grandmother. He'd worn a tie. He'd shaken my hand at Sunday dinner 8 months ago, called me Miss B.S. in that Atlanta drawl, and asked intelligent questions about Walter's Navy service. The petition requested full guardianship, control of my finances, my medical decisions, my home, everything I'd built in 47 years, handed to my granddaughter who claimed I couldn't remember my own address. I'd lived at 2847 Oak Street since 1978, the same house Walter and I bought when he worked the shipyard, same address on every piece of mail, every utility bill, every tax return for 47 years. But I didn't stand up and shout that. I stayed quiet. I watched. I listened. I counted the lies. 12 significant ones. I'd document them later. When Judge Eleanor Thompson asked if I had anything to say in my own defense, I stood slowly. My knees cooperated. My hands didn't shake. I opened the manila folder I'd been holding for 90 minutes. "Your Honor," I said, my voice steady and clear, "I have texts. If someone used your love against you in court, would you speak or gather proof? Drop evidence if you document everything? Would you confront them immediately or let the evidence speak? Comment your strategy." The attorney objected before I even reached the bench. She knew. Somehow, she already knew this wasn't going to end the way Sophia promised her. "Your Honor, this is highly irregular," Ms. Hayes said, standing fast enough that her chair scraped the floor. "We weren't provided discovery for any additional evidence. This is procedurally—" Judge Eleanor Thompson raised one hand. Ms. Hayes went silent. "Approach," the judge said. I walked forward, my shoes clicking on the tile floor, each step steady. The folder felt light in my hands despite containing 3 months of printed text messages, complete with timestamps in military format, phone numbers, cell tower data highlighted in yellow marker, and metadata extracted by Daniel Carter from Legal Aid. Every page numbered, every conversation cross-referenced, organized the way I'd taught 1,000 middle schoolers to cite their research sources. I handed the folder to Judge Eleanor Thompson. She opened it. The courtroom went completely still. Behind me, I heard Sophia's breathing change, shorter, faster. The judge began reading. Her eyes moved across the first page, then the second. Her expression stayed professional, but I saw her jaw tighten slightly when she reached the third page. Sophia's hand froze mid-reach for her water glass. I didn't turn around, but I heard the movement stop. The glass stayed on the table. "Ms." Hayes tried to lean in to see what the judge was reading. Judge Eleanor Thompson angled the folder away. The court reporter looked up from her stenography machine, watching the judge's face. Pages turned. 1, 2, 3. The sound of paper sliding against paper was the only noise in the room. Ethan shifted in his seat. I heard the gallery bench creak. Judge Eleanor Thompson read for 4 minutes without speaking. Then she looked up at me. "Mrs. Sinclair, are these authenticated?" "Yes, Your Honor. Complete metadata extraction, cell tower information, timestamps verified, all performed by Legal Aid paralegal Daniel Carter using standard forensic software. The authentication report is on page 47. The judge flipped to page 47. Read, nodded once. Then she began reading aloud. Text message from phone number ending in 4739 to phone number ending in 8821. Date, August 24, 2025, 11:43 p.m. Judge Eleanor Thompson's voice was measured, clear. Quote, "Once you're guardian, the house goes into probate, then we sell." End quote. The courtroom stirred. Someone in the gallery gasped softly. Judge Eleanor Thompson looked at Sophia. "Ms. Cole, is phone number ending in 8821 your cell phone number?" Sophia opened her mouth. No sound came out. Her attorney stood. "Your Honor, I need time to review. Is that your phone number, Ms. Cole?" Sophia's face had gone pale. The coral nail polish stood out against her white knuckles as she gripped the table edge. I can explain." "It's a yes or no question." Ethan stood up in the gallery. Judge Eleanor Thompson's eyes cut to him. "Sit down, sir." He sat. Sophia whispered something I couldn't hear. The court reporter asked her to repeat it. "Yes," Sophia said louder. "That's my number." Judge Eleanor Thompson turned the page and kept reading. "Pause here. That's premeditation. How many days would prove intent in your mind?" Ethan called Sophia baby in those texts, the same Ethan who'd shaken my hand at Sunday dinner and called me Miss B with that Atlanta drawl, the same man who'd asked to see photos of Walter in his Navy uniform and said all the right things about service and sacrifice. Judge Eleanor Thompson read the next message aloud. Text from number ending in 4739. She glanced at Ms. Hayes, who stood frozen by her table. Mr. Ethan Shaw's number, according to the contact information provided, sent August 25, 2025, 10:17 a.m., the day after the previous message. Quote, $340,000 in that trust fund. Play it right, and we're in Maui by summer. End quote. August 25th. The day after Sophia had driven me to Dr. Julian Mercer's office for the 4-minute evaluation. The day I'd bought ingredients to bake her favorite lemon cake because she'd mentioned feeling stressed about wedding planning. I'd stood in my kitchen that afternoon measuring flour and sugar while she and Ethan were texting about my trust fund. The fund Walter set up before he died from cancer in 2019 meant to keep me comfortable and independent for whatever years I had left. Judge Eleanor Thompson turned another page. September 3rd, 2025, 3:22 p.m. from Ms. Cole's phone. Quote, she actually asked me today if I needed money. LOL, if she only knew. End quote. September 3rd. I'd called Sophia that afternoon because she'd missed our Sunday video call. She'd sounded distracted, distant. I'd asked if everything was okay, if she needed anything. She'd said no, everything was fine, just busy with work. I'd worried about her that night, couldn't sleep well, got up at 2 a.m. and almost called to check on her again. The judge kept reading, her voice level, but colder now. September 8th, 2025, 11:56 p.m. from Mr. Shaw's phone. Quote, old people die faster under guardianship anyway. 3 laughing face emojis. Ms. Cole's response, timestamp 11:59 p.m. Stop! Followed by 2 laughing face emojis. The courtroom wasn't still anymore. People shifted. Someone made a sound, disgust, shock. I couldn't tell. I thought about the prom dress. The one I'd bought Sophia when she was 17, cobalt blue with silver beading, because her mother couldn't afford it that year. I'd taken an extra shift at the library's summer program to cover the cost. I thought about the college textbooks, 4 years of helping with book costs because student loans didn't cover everything. I thought about sitting in the hospital room when she had her appendix out at 19, holding her hand while she came out of anesthesia, staying the whole night in that uncomfortable chair. LOL. 3 laughing face emojis. Judge Eleanor Thompson set the pages down. She looked directly at Sophia. Ms. Cole, the text dated August 24th was sent 14 days before you filed this guardianship petition. Is that correct? Sophia's attorney was flipping through her own notes, her face tight with panic she was trying to hide. It's not what it sounds like, Sophia said. Is the timeline correct? Sophia nodded. I need a verbal response for the record. Yes. Miss One red flag, lose everything you built. Subscribe so you never ignore your gut again. The day I knew something was wrong wasn't dramatic. Sophia just returned my debit card 2 days late and said, sorry, Grandma, I forgot it in my purse. June 14th, 2025, 3 months before the courtroom. I'd let her borrow my card to pick up my prescription at the pharmacy because I had a church committee meeting that ran late. She was supposed to drop it back that evening. Instead, she texted the next day saying she'd bring it by tomorrow. Tomorrow became the day after. When she finally returned it, she seemed rushed. Hair pulled back, wearing gym clothes, keys jangling in her hand. She kissed my cheek, handed me the card, and left before I could offer her sweet tea. That night, I checked my bank statement online. I'd been managing my accounts on the computer since 2018, when Walter got sick and I needed to handle all our finances. The bank's website became as familiar as the library catalog system I'd used for 3 decades. The statement loaded. I scrolled down to the most recent transactions. ATM withdrawal, Clearwater location, June 12th, 2025. 2:47 a.m., $8,000. I stared at the screen, read it 3 times, checked the date again. June 12th, 2:47 in the morning. I'd been asleep in my bed, same as every night. I don't drive to Clearwater at 3 a.m. I don't drive anywhere at 3 a.m. I called the bank the next morning. The customer service representative sounded young, patient, practiced at dealing with confused customers. Ma'am, the withdrawal was made with your debit card and correct PIN. The security footage shows... She paused, checking something on her screen. A female, approximately 20 to 30 years old, using the ATM. That wasn't me. Do you know who might have access to your card and PIN? I did. I'd given Sophia my PIN years ago, back when she'd helped me run errands while Walter was going through chemo. She'd pick up groceries, stop at the bank, handle things I couldn't get to while sitting in hospital waiting rooms. I'd never changed the PIN, never thought I needed to. "Ma'am, are you still there?" "Yes," I said. "I'm here." "Would you like to file a fraud report?" I should have said yes. That's what a reasonable person does when someone steals $8,000 from their account. Instead, I said, "Let me look into this. I'll call back." I hung up. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd helped Sophia with homework every Tuesday afternoon for 6 years when her mother worked late shifts, the same table where we'd addressed her college applications together. I opened the drawer where I kept notepads, pulled out a fresh one, the kind I'd used for library inventory, lined pages, durable binding. I wrote at the top, June 14, 2025. Then underneath, $8,000, Clearwater ATM, 2:47 a.m., female. Sophia had card and PIN. I dated the entry, noted the bank representative's name from my call history. Then I called legal aid. The woman who answered transferred me twice, then a third time. I waited on hold, listening to soft jazz, watching dust particles float through the sunlight coming through my kitchen window. Finally, a voice. Male, young sounding, tired. "This is Daniel Carter. How can I help you?" I told him about the $8,000. He listened. I checked my watch. 11 minutes without interruption. When I finished, there was a pause. Then he said 5 words. "Ma'am, you need a strategy." When did you know? What moment would have triggered your alarm? Share the red flag that would have stopped you cold. Daniel Carter was 29 years old, wore glasses held together with electrical tape, and understood elder financial abuse better than lawyers twice his age. His office was on the 2nd floor of the Legal Aid Building near downtown St. Petersburg, 3 blocks from the public library where I'd worked for 32 years. The elevator made a grinding sound. The hallway smelled like coffee and old carpet. His desk was organized chaos, stacks of case files, a laptop covered in stickers about justice and equity, and a coffee mug that said, "Paralegals because lawyers need heroes too." He gestured to the chair across from his desk. I sat. He pulled out a yellow legal pad and clicked his pen. "Walk me through the timeline again," he said. "Everything that's felt off starting as far back as you can remember." I told him about Ethan appearing in Sophia's life last November, about how her visits changed from casual and warm to focused and transactional, the questions about the house value, the suggestion that I should move to something more manageable, the offers to help simplify my banking. Daniel wrote in quick, neat handwriting. He didn't interrupt. I told him about the power of attorney document I'd found in my filing cabinet last month, the one with a signature that looked almost like mine, but the S in Sinclair slanted wrong, the one I'd never signed, never even seen before. "Do you still have that document?" "Photographed it, front and back, time-stamped on my phone. The original is exactly where I found it." He looked up from his notes. "You photographed it, but left it in place. If it disappeared, I'd have no proof it existed." He smiled, not condescending, impressed. "You'd make a good paralegal." I was a librarian, similar skill set, different books. He asked about doctor's appointments, medications, my daily routine. I told him I managed 7 prescriptions independently, used a pill organizer and tracking app on my phone, drove myself everywhere, volunteered at my church food bank every Thursday, organizing their donation database, attended book club at the library every other Tuesday. "What are you reading right now?" "The Remains of the Day." "We're discussing narrative voice and unreliable narrators next week. I have 4 pages of notes." He wrote that down. Then he opened his laptop and turned it toward me. "Have you saved any text messages from Sophia? Anything in writing about your finances or your capacity?" "Some, not many. She mostly calls." "What about an old phone of hers?" Sometimes people upgrade and leave old devices behind. I thought for a moment. She left her iPhone 8 here 2 years ago when she got a newer model. Said she didn't need it. I kept it in my junk drawer with old chargers and random batteries. Daniel leaned forward. Is it still charged to her Apple ID? I don't know. It's been sitting there for 2 years. Bring it to me. If she never disconnected it from her cloud account, and if she's still using the same ID on her new phone, he paused. Everything syncs. Messages, photos, everything. Can you get into it without her password? I don't need to get into it. If it's still connected to her cloud, the data's already there. I just need to extract it properly, forensically, so it's admissible. He handed me a document. Pattern evidence log was printed at the top. 23 blank lines underneath. Fill these in, Daniel said. Everything Sophia does or says about your capacity. Dates, times, witnesses, exact quotes if you can remember them. When she files that guardianship petition, and based on everything you've told me, she will be ready. I took the document. Thank you for believing me. I work elder abuse cases. I know what it looks like. He met my eyes. You're sharp, organized, and methodical. That's not incompetence. That's documentation. And documentation wins cases. Ever met someone who believed you when no one else did? Drop their name or profession below. They deserve recognition. I became a spy in my own life. Every visit, every phone call, every concerned question. I wrote it down within 15 minutes. Daniel's pattern evidence log sat on my kitchen table. I'd bought color-coded tabs from the office supply store. Blue for financial matters, yellow for medical incidents, green for witness interactions. The kind of organizational system I'd used for 32 years managing library collections. July 2nd, 4:17 p.m. Sophia accompanied me to Dr. David Chen's office for my quarterly check-in. In the waiting room, she spoke to the receptionist. My grandmother has been forgetting things lately. Could you make a note for the doctor? I heard her. The receptionist heard her. I noted both as witnesses. During the appointment, Dr. David Chen asked me standard questions. Day of the week, current president. Count backward from 100 by sevens. I answered everything correctly. His notes, which I requested a copy of later, stated, patient alert, oriented ×3, no cognitive deficits noted. I wrote it down, cross-referenced it with Sophia's waiting room comment. July 9th, 11:23 a.m. Ethan came by during what he called a casual visit. He wandered through my house with his phone, taking pictures of rooms. Just curious about the layout, he said. I'm helping a friend with renovation ideas. I smiled, offered him lemonade, watched him measure the living room with his steps, counting under his breath. After he left, I wrote it down. Room measurements, photos taken, the specific lie about helping a friend. July 15th, 6:42 p.m. Voicemail from Sophia. Hi, Grandma, just checking in. Do you remember what you had for breakfast this morning? Her voice bright, casual, but the question wasn't casual. It was leading, testing, building a narrative. I'd had oatmeal with blueberries and black coffee, same breakfast I'd eaten most mornings for 5 years. I saved the voicemail, noted the date, time, and the exact phrasing of her question. July 23rd, 2:15 p.m. I found the document while looking for my property tax receipt, in my own filing cabinet tucked behind legitimate papers. Power of attorney form, my name typed at the top, a signature at the bottom that looked almost right but wasn't. The S in Sinclair slanted left. My S always slanted right, a habit from decades of handwriting student library cards. My hands shook when I pulled it out, not from confusion or age, from fury. I didn't confront anyone. I photographed it, front and back, time-stamped on my phone, then I put it back exactly where I found it. If it disappeared, I'd have no proof it existed. August 5th, 3:30 p.m. Sophia suggested I simplify my banking. You don't need 3 accounts, Grandma. Let me help you consolidate everything into one. I'll be on it just in case something happens. I told her I'd think about it. I wrote down her exact words, the date, the time, the implication that something might happen. August 12th, week 9 of documentation. My phone rang while I was watering tomato plants. Daniel. His voice was different, tighter, urgent. Beatrice, Sophia just contacted a guardianship attorney. I have a friend who works in that office. The petition's being drafted now. The watering can stayed steady in my hand. How long do we have? 2 weeks, maybe 3. I looked at my evidence binder on the kitchen counter, 4 inches thick now, color-coded tabs sticking out the side, 23 entries in the pattern evidence log, each one dated, witnessed, cross-referenced. We're ready, I said. They count on you not keeping records. Subscribe. I'll show you what documentation saves. You have maybe 2 weeks before they file. What's your next move? Think fast. Dr. Julian Mercer spent 4 minutes with me. 4. I timed it. Then he signed a cognitive capacity evaluation declaring me significantly impaired. August 17th, 2025. Sophia had called 3 days earlier. Grandma, I scheduled a follow-up appointment for you. Just a routine check. She didn't mention it was with a neurologist I'd never heard of. Didn't mention she'd made the appointment without asking me. She picked me up at 1:30 p.m., drove me to an office complex I didn't recognize. In the waiting room, she spoke privately with the receptionist while I sat in a chair by the window. She handed over an insurance card. I saw her lean in, whisper something. The receptionist nodded, typed rapidly into her computer. I checked my watch, noted the time, noticed Sophia's posture, tense, purposeful. When Dr. Julian Mercer called my name, Sophia started to follow. He stopped her. Family waits here. She looked surprised, unhappy. She sat back down. His office was small, cluttered with framed diplomas and medical journals. He gestured to a chair. I sat. He remained standing, didn't make eye contact, opened a form on his computer screen. State your full name. Beatrice Ann Sinclair. Today's date, August 17th, 2025. Count backward from 100 by 7s. I did, perfectly. 100, 93, 86, 79, 72, 65, 58, 51, 44, 37, 30, 23, 16, 9, 2. He nodded. Type something. Who's the president? I answered. He typed again. The appointment lasted 4 minutes and 17 seconds. I checked my watch when I walked out. He never asked about my daily activities, never inquired if I drove, managed my finances, volunteered anywhere, maintained a household, never asked what medications I took or if I could manage them independently. Never asked about my social connections, my memory beyond that morning's date, or my ability to make decisions. 4 minutes, 17 seconds. 2 weeks later, Daniel obtained the evaluation through legal discovery channels. He brought it to my house, set it on my kitchen table next to the evaluation from my actual doctor, Dr. Samuel Peterson, who I'd seen for 15 years. Dr. Samuel Peterson's evaluation from May, 45 minutes comprehensive, cognitive testing across multiple domains, score 29 out of 30 on the mini mental state examination, notes, patient demonstrates excellent cognitive function, manages complex medication regimen independently, drives safely, maintains active social engagement. Dr. Julian Mercer's evaluation from August, 4 minutes, notes, patient exhibited confusion, memory gaps, and disorientation to time and place. Significant cognitive impairment noted. Recommend immediate guardianship evaluation for safety. Confusion, memory gaps, disorientation, all lies. Daniel highlighted one line with yellow marker. Patient brought by concerned granddaughter who reports recent decline. I stared at that sentence, read it 3 times. I never said anything about decline, I told Daniel. He never asked me about my memory or my daily life. He asked me 3 questions. I answered all of them correctly. Daniel nodded. I know. Look at the timestamp on his notes. He started filling out this evaluation at 2:47 p.m. Your appointment started at 2:51 p.m. The report was written before I walked in the room. How is this legal? I asked. It's not, Daniel said. It's fraud. And when we present Dr. Mead Samuel Peterson's evaluation next to this one in court, the judge will see exactly what happened here. How is this legal? Someone explain the loophole that lets this happen. I'll wait. Daniel said, "Do you have Sophia's old phone?" I did. She'd left it here 2 years ago when she upgraded, said she didn't need it. I'd kept it in my junk drawer. Thank God for junk drawers. I pulled it out from under old charging cables, loose batteries, and instruction manuals I'd never thrown away. iPhone 8, rose gold case with a crack across the bottom corner. Dead battery. Daniel plugged it into his laptop using a charging cord and some kind of adapter. The phone powered on. Apple logo appeared. Lock screen showed. "Do you know her passcode?" he asked. "I used to. She changed phones 2 years ago. Might be different now." "Doesn't matter. I don't need to unlock it. I just need to see if it's still connected to her Apple ID and cloud account." He opened software on his laptop I didn't recognize. Technical terms I'd never heard. He explained while he worked. Most people upgrade phones but never disconnect the old device from their cloud account. Everything syncs automatically. Messages, photos, app data. If she's still using the same Apple ID, and most people do, all her current data is backing up to the cloud this phone is connected to. You can see her messages? From her new phone? If she never removed this device from her account, yes. It's all stored in the cloud. I'm just accessing what's already there, legally, forensically. 20 minutes, that's all it took. 20 minutes for 18 months of text messages to appear on his laptop screen, thread after thread. Sophia and Ethan. The entire conspiracy from the beginning. Daniel created a spreadsheet while I watched. Left column, dates. Middle column, text messages. Right column, corresponding real-life events I documented. November 14th, 2023. Ethan's first message about me. "Your grandma's sitting on that house equity. If you play this right, you're set for life." Sophia's response. "She trusts me completely." Ethan. "That's what makes this easy." I remembered that week. Sophia had visited for Sunday dinner, brought Ethan for the first time. I'd made pot roast. We talked about their relationship, their future plans. She'd asked if I'd ever thought about moving somewhere smaller, more manageable. The text was sent the next morning. Daniel kept scrolling. Each message matched something I'd documented. Text about liquidating assets sent the same day Sophia visited my bank. Text about power of attorney sent the day before I found the forged document. Text joking about confused old people sent the same week Sophia told Dr. David Chen I was forgetting things. He backed everything up 3 ways: encrypted cloud storage, external hard drive locked in a fireproof box, printed copies, every page time-stamped and authenticated. "This is admissible," Daniel said. "Complete metadata, cell tower information, geolocation data for some messages. A defense attorney can challenge it, but they won't win. This is forensic-level documentation." Then he found the worst one. I watched his face change while he read it. "Beatrice," he said quietly, "you should see this." Text from Ethan, dated March 7, 2019, 3 weeks after Walter's funeral. "How long you think before the grief makes her sloppy with the will?" Sophia's response, a timer emoji. 60 days. They were timing my grief. One old device can hold years of truth. Subscribe before you throw anything away. They were timing my grief. Tell me that doesn't make your blood cold. The process server was apologetic. He'd served guardianship papers to confused elders before. I wasn't confused. I thanked him, offered sweet tea, and closed the door with the petition in my hand. Then I called Daniel. September 1st, 2025, Labor Day. Most people were at barbecues or beach trips. I sat at my kitchen table and read 37 pages that claimed I was a danger to myself. The petition was professionally prepared, legal language that sounded protective while stripping every right I had. In the best interest of the ward. Immediate intervention required. Substantial risk of financial exploitation. Attached documents, Dr. Julian Mercer's 4-minute evaluation, affidavits from 2 witnesses I'd never met, Kevin Fuller and Laura Bishop. Both claimed they'd observed me wandering confused in public places, disoriented and unable to recall basic information. I didn't know anyone named Kevin Fuller or Laura Bishop. I researched them online while the petition sat in front of me. Kevin Fuller, business consultant, Atlanta, listed on the website for Ethan's consulting firm. Laura Bishop, administrative coordinator, same firm. Neither had ever met me. Neither lived in St. Petersburg, but both signed affidavits swearing they'd witnessed my cognitive decline. Court date, September 22nd, 2025, 21 days. The petition claimed I couldn't manage my finances, showed erratic account activity. The $8,000 Sophia stole presented as evidence of my confusion. Claimed I'd given my debit card to unknown individuals. Sophia, who I'd trusted with it. It claimed I couldn't manage my medications. False. I had a pill organizer and tracking app. It claimed I'd forgotten my home address. False. I'd lived at 2847 Oak Street for 47 years. It claimed I needed immediate guardianship before I gave away assets to scammers. The only person who'd taken my assets was sitting in the petitioner's chair. I photographed every page with my phone, texted Daniel, sent him the PDF the court had emailed me. Then I opened my evidence binder, 4 inches thick, color-coded tabs, pattern evidence log completely filled, 23 entries, text message extractions, bank statements, medical evaluations, witness contact information. I didn't cry. I felt something colder than sadness, clarity, purpose. The kitchen table where I ate cereal that morning was now covered with legal documents and highlighters. Yellow for lies, blue for witness information, pink for financial claims. Almost everything got highlighted yellow. Daniel called back within minutes. "I'm coming over. Don't sign anything. Don't respond to anyone." He arrived 40 minutes later. Juliana Reyes from the Elder Rights Project came with him. She wore jeans and a Florida State sweatshirt, pulled away from her Labor Day to review my case. She read the petition in silence, flipped through Dr. Julian Mercer's evaluation, checked the witness affidavits. Then she looked at my evidence binder. She opened it, scanned the first few pages, looked at Daniel, looked at me. "They have no idea who you are," she said. She pulled out her laptop. "We have 3 weeks. Let's build a defense that doesn't just beat this petition. Let's build one that ends it. You have 3 weeks to build a defense. You have the proof. How would you present it?" Courtroom strategy session in the comments. Juliana didn't just want my evidence. She wanted witnesses who'd testify to my competence. I gave her 17 names in 12 minutes. My dining room became legal prep center. Juliana set up her laptop on one end of the table. Daniel organized documents on the other end. I sat in the middle with my phone and address book, the physical kind, written in pen, organized alphabetically. "Book club members," I said. "Thursday group at the library, 8 women, ages 55 to 72. I facilitate discussions. Last month, we analyzed the remains of the day. Complex narrative structure, unreliable narrator. I led a 40-minute discussion. Juliana wrote down names. Can they testify to your cognitive function? They can testify I'm facilitating discussions about postmodern literature. That should cover it. Next, Dr. Samuel Peterson, my primary care physician for 15 years. Juliana called him directly, explained the situation. He remembered my May evaluation, perfect cognition, independent medication management, safe driving. He agreed to provide an affidavit and testify if needed. Church volunteer coordinator, Carol Evans. I managed the food bank donation database, tracking inventory, expiration dates, distribution patterns. Carol could testify I'd organized a system that increased efficiency by 40% and reduced waste. My former principal from the library, Mr. David Hughes, retired but still substitute coordinating. I still filled in occasionally when they needed experienced librarians. He could testify I'd worked 2 weeks ago, manage circulation systems, help students with research projects. Each witness provided written affidavits. Juliana drafted them with specific, factual claims. No emotional language, just competence, demonstrated through actions. While Juliana interviewed witnesses, Daniel worked on forensic analysis. He created a timeline document, every text message from Sophia and Ethan cross-referenced with my pattern evidence log entries, visual proof of the conspiracy. Then he found something new. Bank records he'd requested through Discovery channels, Sophia's checking account, transactions from the past 6 months. He called me over to his laptop, pointed to one line, August 10th, 2025, payment to Mercer Neurology Associates, $15,000, memo line, consultation, 1 week before my 4-minute appointment. That's bribery, I said. That's evidence, Daniel corrected. We can't prove what the payment was for without Dr. Julian Mercer's testimony, but the timeline speaks for itself. $15,000, 1 week before an evaluation that took 4 minutes and declared you incompetent. Juliana looked at the bank record. We present this alongside Dr. Samuel Peterson's thorough evaluation from May. The judge will see the disparity. Daniel pulled up another file, audio recording. This is the deleted voice memo I recovered from Sophia's cloud backup. Recovered it the same time as the text messages. Dated August 15th. He pressed play. Sophia's voice, clear and calm. Just say you saw her looking lost at the grocery store, confused about where things were. Keep it simple. They won't check. Nobody verifies witness statements in guardianship cases. Male voice, nervous. What if they ask questions? Sophia, they won't. Just sign the affidavit, I'll handle the rest. Coaching a false witness, on tape, time-stamped, authenticated. Juliana closed her laptop. We file our response tomorrow, full counter case. Every witness, every document, the forensic analysis, the audio recording, the bank records, everything. She looked at me. Your filing system rivals most paralegals I've worked with. Your memory for dates and details exceeds most adults half your age. A judge will see that within 5 minutes of hearing you speak. The day before trial, Daniel came to my house one more time. He held one final document. Beatrice, he said, bank records showing Sophia made a $15,000 payment to Dr. Julian Mercer's practice the week before your evaluation. The memo line said, consultation, for 4 minutes of lies. That's bribery. That's fraud. How is this doctor still licensed? Sound off if you think medical boards need reforming. Sophia wore pearls to court, the ones I gave her for her college graduation. She touched them twice during her testimony, like a talisman. I wondered if she remembered where they came from. September 22nd, 2025. Trial day. The courtroom was fuller than during the preliminary hearing. Judge Eleanor Thompson sat at the bench, reviewing documents before proceedings began. I sat with Juliana at the defense table. Daniel sat behind us in the first row, our evidence binders stacked beside him. Sophia testified first. Miss Hayes guided her through carefully rehearsed answers. Sophia cried softly, not too much, just enough. She dabbed her eyes with tissue, her voice breaking at calculated moments. I'm terrified for my grandmother's safety, she said. She's not the woman who raised me. She forgets conversations we just had. Last month, she couldn't remember her medication schedule. I found her confused about which pills to take. Lie. I had a pill organizer with each day marked, a tracking app on my phone that reminded me every morning and evening. 7 medications managed independently, confirmed by Dr. Samuel Peterson's records. She gave her debit card to someone she barely knew, Sophia continued. $8,000 disappeared from her account. She couldn't explain where it went. Another lie. She knew exactly where it went. She took it herself at 2:47 a.m. from a Clearwater ATM. Ms. Hayes presented Dr. Julian Mercer's evaluation, the 4-minute fraud. Then the affidavits from Kevin Fuller and Laura Bishop. Two people I'd never met, both employed by Ethan's firm. Ethan sat in the gallery, third row back, wearing his concerned boyfriend expression. He nodded supportively when Sophia looked his way. Judge Eleanor Thompson listened without visible reaction, taking notes, observing. When Ms. Hayes finished, Juliana stood. "Thank you, Your Honor. I have questions for Ms. Cole." Cross-examination began quietly. Juliana's voice was calm, factual, precise. "Ms. Cole, you testified you're concerned about your grandmother's financial safety. Have you accessed her bank accounts in the past year?" Sophia hesitated, half a second too long. "Only to help her pay bills. She asked me to." "I see. And the $8,000 ATM withdrawal on June 12th at 2:47 a.m. in Clearwater, that was helping with bills?" Sophia's face changed, color draining. That was... What bill requires $8,000 in cash at 2:47 in the morning, Ms. Cole?" Ms. Hayes stood. "Objection, Your Honor. Relevance." Judge Eleanor Thompson leaned forward slightly. Her expression hadn't changed, but something in her posture had sharpened. "I'll allow it. Ms. Cole, please answer the question." Sophia opened her mouth. No sound came out. She looked at her attorney. Ms. Hayes couldn't help her. The question required a factual answer, and there wasn't a good one. "I don't remember the specific circumstances," Sophia finally said. "You don't remember withdrawing $8,000? I may have needed cash for something." "At 2:47 a.m.? I don't recall the exact time." Juliana picked up a document from her table. The ATM transaction record shows the exact time. It also shows security camera footage of the withdrawal. Would reviewing that footage refresh your memory? Sophia's hand went to her pearls, touched them once, twice. Her tell from childhood, when she was caught in a lie about homework or broken curfews. I would need to check my records." "Please do that, Your Honor. We'll provide the ATM footage and bank records as exhibits." Judge Eleanor Thompson made a note. "Proceed." Juliana asked about Ethan. "About the insurance card Sophia used at Dr. Julian Mercer's office that I'd never seen before. About the power of attorney document with the forged signature. Each question stripped away another layer of Sophia's performance. Each answer revealed another crack. I sat motionless, hands folded in my lap, watching my granddaughter lie with practiced ease, watching her realize the lies weren't working anymore. Courtrooms favor the prepared, subscribe to see how evidence beats performance every time. When the judge asked if I had anything to say in my own defense, I didn't give a speech. I handed her 3 months of text messages, 6 affidavits from actual witnesses, and 1 audio recording of my granddaughter coaching someone to lie. I took the stand briefly, stated my name, address, age, confirmed I understood the nature of the proceedings. Then I handed Judge Eleanor Thompson the manila folder I'd been holding through 90 minutes of Sophia's testimony. "Your Honor, this folder contains evidence I've gathered over the past 3 months. Text message transcripts with full metadata, timestamps, phone numbers, geolocation data, affidavits from witnesses who can speak to my cognitive function and daily competence, forensic analysis of financial records, and 1 audio recording I believe is relevant to this case." Judge Eleanor Thompson opened the folder. The courtroom went silent. Inside, every page was numbered, cross-referenced, indexed with tabs, marking key sections. The text transcripts came first. Daniel's forensic extraction with cell tower data highlighted in yellow. Each conversation between Sophia and Ethan organized chronologically. The judge began reading. Her face remained professional, but I watched her jaw tighten, watched her eyes move faster across certain pages, then slow down to reread specific lines. Behind me, I heard movement, Ethan shifting in his seat, Sophia breathing faster. Ms. Hayes tried to stand, then sat back down. She leaned towards Sophia, whispered something. Sophia shook her head. Judge Eleanor Thompson turned pages. 1, 2, 5, 10. She reached the affidavits. Dr. Samuel Peterson's detailed evaluation from May, 45-minute comprehensive exam, perfect cognitive scores, book club members describing my facilitation of complex literary discussions, church volunteer coordinator confirming I managed their entire donation database, then the bank records, the $15,000 payment from Sophia to Dr. Julian Mercer's practice, 1 week before my 4-minute evaluation, memo line, consultation. The judge's expression changed, not dramatically, just a small shift around her eyes, professional neutrality cracking into visible anger. She reached the final section. Daniel's note explained the audio file. Deleted voice memo recovered from cloud backup during forensic extraction. Authenticated metadata attached. Judge Eleanor Thompson looked up. Is there equipment to play this recording? The court clerk set up speakers. The room waited. Sophia's voice came through clear and calm. Just say you saw her looking lost at the grocery store, confused about where things were. Keep it simple. They won't check. Nobody verifies witness statements in guardianship cases. Male voice, nervous. What if they ask questions? Sophia, they won't. Just sign the affidavit. I'll handle the rest. The recording ended. 11 seconds. Enough. Ethan stood up in the gallery. Judge Eleanor Thompson's eyes cut to him. Sit down, sir. Security moved toward his row. He sat. Sophia reached for her attorney's arm. Ms. Hayes pulled away, her face pale, staring at the folder in the judge's hands. This was discovery she never saw coming. Beatrice's team had filed it within legal timeframes, but the sheer volume, hundreds of pages, had buried the most damaging evidence until this moment. The court reporter had stopped typing. She sat frozen, looking at the judge. Judge Eleanor Thompson read for 11 minutes total. When she set down the last page, she looked at Sophia, then at Ms. Hayes, then at me. Her voice was measured, but harder than before. This petition is denied, immediately. The evidence presented demonstrates not only that Mrs. Sinclair possesses full cognitive capacity, but that this petition was filed in bad faith for financial exploitation. I am referring this matter to the State Attorney's Office for investigation under Florida Statute 825.1103, which addresses exploitation of elderly persons. This hearing is concluded. The gavel came down once. Sharp. Final. Sophia left the courthouse through the side entrance. I left through the front doors into September sunshine with Juliana and Daniel beside me. I didn't watch her go. September 23rd, 2025, morning after the trial. My phone rang 6 times before 8 a.m. Friends who'd heard, former students, my church pastor. I let most calls go to voicemail. I needed quiet. 2 weeks later, documents started arriving. Restraining order confirmation. Sophia Cole cannot contact Beatrice Sinclair or come within 500 feet of her residence. Order effective immediately. Duration. Indefinite pending criminal investigation outcome. The bank called. Fraud Investigation Department. They were freezing the joint account Sophia had access to, pending internal review. They apologized for not catching the unauthorized withdrawals sooner. They offered to restore the $8,000. I told them I'd think about it. Florida Medical Board sent notice to Dr. Julian Mercer. Ethics investigation opened. Daniel had filed the complaint the day after trial, attaching the bank records showing the $15,000 payment, the 4-minute evaluation, Dr. Samuel Peterson's comprehensive assessment for comparison. The board's letter was formal, cold, procedural. The investigation timeline, 6 to 12 months. My phone kept ringing, former library colleagues, book club members, people I hadn't heard from in years. Everyone wanted to know if I was okay, if I needed anything, if the story they'd heard was true. My church wanted to hold a celebration. I declined. This wasn't something to celebrate. It was something to recover from. Daniel came over 3 times that first week. We changed all my passwords, closed the joint account entirely, opened new accounts at a different bank, updated my will with Juliana's help. Ironclad protections, no single person with access, professional trustee named. I made lemon cake one afternoon, Sophia's favorite. The kitchen smelled like my grandmother's house when I was young. Butter, sugar, lemon zest. I ate one slice. It tasted like memory and loss. I wrapped the rest, walked it to my neighbor's house, left it on their porch with a note. October 14th, 2025, 3 weeks after trial. The state attorney called. Her name was Hannah Kim. She was young, professional, spoke carefully about case details she couldn't fully disclose. Mrs. Sinclair, I'm calling to inform you that Sophia Cole and Ethan Shaw have relocated to Georgia. We confirmed the address this morning. They're outside Florida jurisdiction. I sat down at my kitchen table. So you can't pursue charges. We can request extradition for felony charges, but it's complicated, time-consuming, expensive for the state. I wanted to ask, do you want us to pursue this across state lines? I looked out my window. October light on the tomato plants I'd started in the backyard. Green fruit just beginning to show. No, I said. I just want them gone. Silence on the line. Then, are you sure? This is exploitation. It's serious. I'm sure. They're gone. That's what I needed. Mrs. Sinclair, I have to ask, do you know if they've targeted anyone else? Any other elderly family members or acquaintances? I hadn't thought about that. My blood went cold. I don't know. Can you check? We're looking into it. I'll call you if we find anything. She hung up. I sat at my table, holding my phone, wondering how many other grandmothers there were. How many other Sophias? Forgiveness or prosecution? What would you choose if it were your family? Honest answers only. I planted tomatoes the first week of October, beefsteak and cherry varieties. Walter always said, you know life's steady when you're planning 6 months ahead. The backyard soil was still warm from summer. I dug holes, added compost, set the seedlings in rows. My knees complained, but my hands remembered the work. 30 years of maintaining this garden. The tomatoes didn't care about courtrooms or betrayal. They just needed water, sun, time. Thursday book club resumed. We were reading Where the Crawdads Sing. I had opinions about the narrative structure, flashbacks used effectively, nature writing that served character development, a murder mystery that stayed focused on emotional truth. My comments made everyone laugh. Someone said, Beatrice, you should teach a class on this. Maybe I would. Church food bank on Thursdays. I reorganized the inventory system, added color coding for expiration date urgency. Carol, the coordinator, said donations were up 15% since I'd implemented the new tracking method. You've got a gift for systems, she said. I told her it was just library training, same skills, different shelves. Juliana helped me update my will. We met at her office twice. The new version was airtight. Trust structure that required 2 professional trustees. No single family member with access. Clear distribution instructions. Protections against future guardianship attempts. This document, Juliana said, is basically a legal fortress. Good. That's what I wanted. Daniel and I met for coffee once a month. He'd become more than my paralegal. Friend felt like the right word. We talked about his cases, my advocacy work, books we were reading. He was working through The Remains of the Day. I gave him my book club notes. I joined Elder Rights Advocacy Network in November. Spoke at 2 meetings about recognizing financial exploitation, warning signs. The first time, 20 people attended. The second time, 43. People took notes, asked questions. 3 individuals approached me afterward with their own stories, similar patterns, same confusion about whether they were overreacting. You're not overreacting, I told each one. Trust what you're seeing. Document everything. December brought cooler weather. The tomatoes kept growing. I checked them every morning. Green fruit getting bigger, stalk strong, leaves healthy. Planning harvest for January, life steadied. Not the same as before. I felt the loss of Sophia like permanent weather, always there in the background. But steady, forward moving, mine again. March 15th, 2026, 6 months after the trial. An envelope arrived in my mailbox. No return address. Georgia postmark. I opened it at my kitchen table. Inside, a cashier's check for $8,247. The $8,000 ATM withdrawal plus 6 months of interest at 3%. One piece of paper, 3 words handwritten. I'm so sorry. No signature. I stared at it for a long time. The check was real. I could tell from the watermarks, the bank routing information. The handwriting looked like Sophia's. Maybe. Hard to say from 3 words. I put the check back in the envelope, placed it in my desk drawer. Didn't cash it, didn't tear it up, just left it there. Some things don't need immediate decisions. Some things can wait. Recovery is quiet work. Subscribe. Not every story ends with revenge. Some end with tomatoes and truth. Would you cash it? Keep it? Send it back? They asked me at the advocacy group meeting how I knew to save everything. I said the same thing I told the judge. Baby, I spent 32 years teaching children that sources matter, and evidence speaks louder than emotion. Turns out that applies to family, too. September 22nd, 2026. 1 year after the trial, Elder Rights Conference at the Tampa Convention Center, 200 attendees, mostly seniors and their advocates. I was scheduled to speak at 2 p.m. The room was larger than I expected. Rows of chairs, a podium with microphone, screen for presentation slides. I wore Walter's watch, carried the same manila folder from the trial, now empty but symbolic. I told the story calmly. The debit card returned late. The ATM withdrawal at 2:47 a.m. Daniel at Legal Aid. The pattern evidence log with 23 entries. Dr. Julian Mercer's 4-minute fraud. The text messages extracted from an old phone in my junk drawer. The trial. People took notes. Several wiped their eyes. I kept my voice steady. I loved Sophia, I said. I still do. That's the part nobody warns you about. Betrayal doesn't erase love. It just shows you that love without boundaries is permission to be harmed. I showed examples of my documentation system. Color-coded tabs, cross-referenced entries, timestamps, witness information. This, I said, holding up my evidence binder, is what saved me. Not luck, not hoping they'd change. Documentation. I talked about Daniel, about Juliana, about the legal aid system that believed me when I walked in with a notebook and a suspicion. Find your Daniel, I said. Find people who listen before they judge, who treat you like the expert on your own life. I ended with practical advice. Warning signs. Sudden isolation. Urgency around legal documents, third parties appearing before money requests, being told you're confused by people who benefit from your confusion. Trust your instincts, I said. If something feels wrong, it probably is. You have decades of experience reading people. Don't let anyone convince you that age has erased that wisdom. The applause was warm, but not overwhelming. Good. This wasn't entertainment. This was information. 3 people approached me afterward. 2 women, 1 man. Each started with the same phrase. This is happening to me right now. I gave them Daniel's contact information, told them to start documenting today. Every conversation, every request, every time someone suggests you're forgetting things, write it down with date, time, witnesses. 1 woman, 73 years old, said her daughter had started asking about power of attorney last month. Is that a red flag? Depends, I said. Is she asking because you requested help, or is she pushing for control you haven't offered? There's a difference between helping and taking over. The woman nodded, understanding settling into her face. I drove home as the sun set. October light on the Gulf waters, the same route I'd driven for 47 years. My house looked the same as always. Tomatoes in the backyard, now producing heavy. I'd canned sauce last week, 12 jars labeled with dates and varieties. Gave 6 to Daniel, kept 6 for myself. The last jar sits on my kitchen windowsill now, catching afternoon light. I haven't opened it. Don't need to. It's just a reminder. What you document today might save you tomorrow. Sometimes the sweetest victory is knowing you saw them coming and you were ready. You'll forget these red flags by next week. Subscribe so the warning signs find you when you need them most. Which moment hit you hardest? The courtroom reveal? The fake doctor? That Georgia envelope?